Hello, good evening. Welcome to Heartlines, and this is our space where we discuss everything relationship and love. I'm your host, Franca, and on the show with me today, I have Jacinta Powell. Jacinta, are you here? Hello, dear. How are you?
Hi, fine.
And she is live. We're
Hello, guys.
we're having
Good
we're
to be
cooling,
here
we're
once
cooling off
again.
today. We're looking more relaxed today.
Yeah, I like.
You like, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more chilled.
More chilled, yes. So today we're discussing the positive techniques that work with kids, children, toddlers, teenagers, just kids, the techniques that work, discipline, the different kinds of discipline techniques that work for kids. And I think we've been discussing children, training, discipline, and all that. So, but we're saying, oh, let's not just discuss all that. Let's also help people navigate, things that could be done properly, what to do, what we think, should be done, and maybe educate, based on what we have found out that works for, like a majority of the people, a majority of parents. And Jacinta, hello, Jess, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
Yes, I am.
So do you think that it's something that one method would work for everybody? Is this something that people should pay attention to? Because when I see the kind of conversations in fact, sometimes I go back home and I'm listening to the conversations we'll be having. I'm like, so there's a textbook on these things that we're talking about. Because when I was getting married and having children, I didn't think there were techniques to discipline. I didn't think there were methods to training or parenting, things like that. It's just getting too serious. I think it's just getting too serious. As much as, yes, we should be intentional, but it's really getting serious. Jess, do you think so as well?
Yes, I do agree that it's actually getting really serious. If you look at years ago, let's look at like 100 years ago. There's nothing like adolescence. There was nothing like a teenager. Let's be honest. They didn't have all of these different stages. Then people years ago, many years ago, at 14 or 13, the boys are already with the men on the fields, farming or doing any other thing. And by that age as well, the girls are already married with children. There's not too much emphasis on this is an adolescent, this is a teenager, and this is what should be happening at this point in time. Then they just threw them into the workforce or into the society, and that was just literally it. All of this was coined just some years ago, and then there's a lot of market around it, and there's a lot of subjects around it, and now people are having problems even transiting their children from teenagehood to adulthood due to all of this. What should I be doing, what should I not be doing, because there's so much information out there that that is just enormous, and people are struggling because being a parent is not a day's job. So I agree with you when it comes to that to that phrase.
Okay. Okay, so please, viewers, so know that you can call in to join our conversation, and you can call us on 070-2500-7749 or 070-1424-2420. Or you can send us a message on WhatsApp if you don't want to call in on 081 9038 4663. And also you should subscribe. We're begging, we have been begging that you should subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV, and then share the link to people who you feel need to watch. And I think we've been having very good conversations that children, teenagers, getting into that age can also tune in to watch to get, one or two things from what we're saying. So yes, that's why we're having conversations that's cut across parents, children. So if you see a topic that you think the children need to, the adults or the teenagers need to get involved in, please share, and let's work together. So let's quickly go on a break. We'll be back.
Stay tuned. Heartlines will be right back.
It's a season of love. In partnership with Yasin, Heartlines will be giving away
4 luxurious, beautiful gifts to 4 lucky women. So stay tuned to the show to find out how you can win these incredible, luxurious gifts. And yes, gentlemen, you can participate to win on behalf of your better half, because truly, love is in the air. So catch me live Mondays through Fridays at 10 p.m. on Heartlines.
Thanks for staying with us on Heartlines.
Okay. Shay, I am trying to understand how people would take it when we say techniques. I think it sounds too serious.
It should be serious. I mean,
Yeah.
raising children should be a serious matter.
Yes, but you see, discipline is something that if you're not careful, it either derails the child or gets the child better.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as, we want to discipline children, it has to be something that's working.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know what works for each child, So how are we able to say, aside going to read to check, oh, this is what you should do, and, how do we get to the point or get to know, oh, this is what I should do with my child? Or this is what should work for this child. Are you going to try different methods? Are you going to get to do different things and then get to the point where you say, oh, or see that this is what is working?
Okay. And this is just me speaking from personal experience and the things I experience with my children. First off, I think there's a stage where a general rule fits all.
Okay.
Which is the stage of toddler. Obviously, as a toddler, you can't start disciplining a toddler. You have to, first of all, observe this child. There's a stage of observation. There's a stage where their characters begin to come out. A child that comes out stubborn, you begin to know it. A child that is laid back, you begin to observe those things. And I think what happens is, as you observe, the method that applies to each child begins to come out. And I would always use my first son as an example. As a toddler, we discovered that words work more for him than subtle words work more for him than shouting or trying to beat him, because he reacts to it. And when you kind of discipline him hard-ardently, he shies away from, socializing with you and wants to just run away. And I didn't want training him. I didn't want that kind of approach. I didn't want that kind of relationship where, you're trying to train your child, and in the process, you do things that make the child, kind of drift apart from you. So we had to change the approach, in the sense that we now had to embrace the more modern approach, which is sit down, talk. We both go through, like, if you mess up, we sit down and say the reasons why these rights will be taken from you, the reason why this is it, there's a reason why you should not do this, the reason why you should not do this. And funny thing is, he's training his younger brother, which is, no, you cannot do this. This is what you should do. And I'm like, okay, this approach worked for this child. And at the same time, I also don't want to believe that that's a general approach. There are some children that you need to be really tough on. And honestly, I would like to see how this works. If, some of these things are taken from the parents. Mm-hmm. Because there are some parents that are tough, that are stubborn. And maybe the DNA has something to do with it, where the offspring you give birth to possesses some of those traits that you have. Mm-hmm. And, you have to find a way to simmer them down or get across to them.
Maybe they say the apple doesn't fall far from
Exactly.
the tree.
So I believe, as a cool guy that I am, my children too, a cool approach of parenting
You really
applies
had
to
to
them.
re-emphasize that. You really had to.
So
Okay, so Jess, what do you think?
And that's so nice to hear. Shay is a cool guy. It's good that you know who you are. I do agree with him, of course. Different kids, different children, different approach. But we all know that in Nigeria the approach is not sitting down with the child and talking to the child. We know that the approach is beating the child, some sort of showing control, making sure that the child follows whatever is being said, and the parents obviously um, doing what they can as form of discipline. That's beating the child. But one thing of what people don't understand is discipline is not beating a child. Discipline is not, oh, you have to be hard on the child. It's teaching. Discipline equals just teaching. Now, what it is how do you teach? And just like we're talking about today, positive techniques, right, to discipline. So, what ways can you teach your child positively? When I say positively, meaning a supportive environment where you can teach your child so that, like Shay said, he learns when he sat his child down. The child started to learn better, and even then transferred that learning to his younger brother. So that is it. In a supportive environment, he taught, and the child learned. But a lot of Nigerians, of course, will never see that as an approach. So we're saying that the different ways you can discipline your child, it doesn't have to be a control mechanism. It doesn't always have to be, this is what I want, this is how you should do it, and so on and so forth. So I'll just say that one of the techniques, I would say positive technique, is being a role model. Because what a lot of parents don't understand is you can't tell your child to do something that you're not doing. It won't work no matter how much you beat them, because they're directly saying that you're doing the same thing. So why would they do the same thing? And I'll also say another one is when your child does something, routine, let's say routine, kids are very big on routines. If you try to put them on a routine, maybe when you get back from school, you wash your hands, you eat, then you play, then you do something else, your homework, then you go to bed. And when you keep doing that, that is discipline. Routines are discipline. They know, because children like to follow discipline. I'm sorry, routines. So they know that, oh, after eating, I'm going to have a snack. Oh, after eating, I'm going to play. So they eat so they can play. You know what I mean? Then they're going to have a shower. So doing that every day helps them. That's discipline as well. And I also say that when it comes to cautioning your child, always be consistent. If they do something wrong, make sure that you don't caution them. Yes, today, then you don't caution them tomorrow. You don't choose when to caution or when not to caution. If it's bad, caution it. Like, always make sure that it's always the same treatment. It shouldn't be about your mood. I don't feel like it today. No, you have to be consistent so that they know that if I do this and whenever I do this, I get this for it. These are really great signs for positive discipline. And again, don't discipline them after they've done whatever they have done. So if they do something, even if it's outside, discipline them however it is that you discipline them. But I would not say you should beat them outside.
Okay.
With a lot of parents. I used to see, like, I remember very well my brother, very stubborn when we were growing up. And, sometimes he gets my mom's nerves, and then, she just gives him some sort of dirty slap in
Okay.
public. But what I'm trying to say is when they do something, discipline them at that moment, whatever it is. You to caution them, take something away from them. Because if you do that later on when they get home, they wouldn't understand why you're doing that to them. And let's not forget, you see, when kids, this discipline we're talking about now, it depends on the age brackets. I strongly believe that a child, becomes an adult from 13 or 14. I'm not sure about them, trying to map them into teenagers. And no. I believe that from 14, 13, they're already adults, just young adults, broke adults, just they don't have any money, just they're under your roof. But they're adults already. Seriously, So I believe that when they get to 13, 14, the discipline has to end. The teaching has to end. You then start training them. Because if you're more like lay your bed, take your plates to the kitchen and all of that, when they are 14, you likely fail. Because at that point in time, they're already groomed. They look like you already. In their mind, they're adults, and you're telling them this and that. Why? And maybe you don't even take your plate to the kitchen, or you don't even lay your bed when you wake up. So what I would say is, at that time when they're like 14, I think that should be the time we start to train them, where you give them the responsibility. Have you noticed that when someone is allowed to do something, they don't do it anymore, or they take more responsibility in doing it? Like if you say, "Oh, you don't have to lay your bed. If you like the way your room is, oh, go, lovely. But I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't want my room to look that way or something." Or you say, "Oh, you have this set of friends, okay, but I wouldn't roll with those kind of friends. If I were your age, I just would think that they're not the kind of people for me. Not, I don't want to see you with those people. I don't want to see you with you know what I mean? I think if you give them the opportunity to actually, decide for
Try out
themselves, give them
things.
some sort of responsibility, yes, then you see them start, putting things together. So that's another way of disciplining them at that age. So I think age really matters.
Okay. Okay, so I totally agree with you, Jess. And from everything, Jess has said a few things, you have said a few things, but I want to practicalize these things. I want to put it into action. And I'm trying in my head, I'm just saying, oh, this parent, and I'm playing different scenarios in my head. And I have seen certain things happen just the same way you have said, and it doesn't work. In fact, I saw a video on social media where a mom, this was actually abroad, and the mom came in to say, oh, Jess, go, I'm using Jess, sorry. I'm saying, oh, Jess, go do the dishes. She came in the first time. The son said, okay, mom. He didn't move from that place. She came in the second time. Go do the dishes. He said, okay, mom. The lady came in 4 times. But by the 5th time, she came with a storm. Like she banged the door, pushed something, and the son got up immediately to go do what the mom had said, he should go do. And I'm saying, based on everything we've said previously, that how children try to test you, see how much they can try you, or how much they can test your patience and all. I think, is it possible that not every parent wants to beat their child? You just have some kids who are naturally stubborn.
Exactly what I was saying.
You just have kids who are naturally stubborn, and you need to go the extra mile with those kids. And then there are some kids you want to have conversations with, but they are slow. They're children that you're speaking to, even when you give them the opportunity to make choices, they're not able to do that because they want you to do all that for them. By the time you're saying, what do you think? No, mom, what do you think? Because in their head, I might do something wrong and I don't want to take chances, So it's a 50-50 thing, like I said. We're not sure of what works. So is it that, we're not sure of what works. So you just continue to try, see what's working for the child. But there are also rewards that I know help when it comes to discipline, like positive reinforcement, letting the child know that if you do this, you know how even in offices, when you give reward for certain things, you see people respond positively to it. And then when they know that there are consequences for their actions, then they don't want to do that. People are scared of losing things. And I think it also has to do, it's a very good way to even discipline kids. Because kids don't want to lose certain things. They don't want to lose certain things, and they also want to get certain things. They feel very good when they get gifts, when they get praised and things like that. So for things like maybe academics, you're giving something if you come first, things like that. Oh, you're taking out, okay, so if you do this, you don't have to do dishes anymore, things like that. I think that's also a very good technique to help, with discipline. Fantastic technique to help with discipline. But then again, I just said it's fantastic, but guess what? Some kids get comfortable with these things and, they make up their mind, I really can't be bothered. If I get it, fine. If I don't get it, there are kids like that.
You know what I was even going to say was that this reward system, the funny thing is, even as adults, reward and discipline system is what works. Even in organization, let's forget about kids. So if that works for adults, when there's a reward system for hard work, for people who go the extra mile, you see a lot of people doing it. And when there's discipline for some, that's when, even as adults, we react to reward system. So we can imagine what the effect that will have with kids. And I think specifically, we also need to consider that kids are, if you want to raise a child, you have to have a very big amount of patience. And I believe true love is very patient. I was having a discussion with one of my friends one day, and I said that most of the beatings we got when we were younger was not from discipline. It was from lack of patience from our parents. That's number one. Number two, it was from frustration of a hard day's job where,
Economy frustration.
where they had gone to work, they were tired, and after work, your dad is sitting down with you to give the last amount of strength he has to say, oh yeah, let's do your homework together. And he's saying 8 plus 8, and you are saying 7.
See, I somewhat disagree. Somewhat, meaning not fully.
Okay.
Why am I saying this? Of course, but that cannot be in totality. Yes, sometimes it's frustration, of course, definitely, from a long, hard day's work and other things. But you need to also understand that some children are they get under people's skin.
Oh, yes,
You might be having
definitely.
a wonderful day, you may be having an excellent day, and you just have some children that would get under your skin, and then before you know it, they reel you up. It might not have anything to do with you or your work or anything. They're just some children that are very, very difficult. They're stubborn. They break things. They destroy things in the house. They go. They literally just go into maybe your room, your locker, your wardrobe, whatever. Just start breaking, destroying, and some kids are really, really difficult to
And
handle.
writing on the wall.
But the thing, Jess, there's some certain set of people, there's a school of thought that will tell you that child, the behavior that child is exhibiting is as a result of deficits somewhere. Is as a result
but he
of
lacks attention, right? He wants
attention,
attention.
or is as a result of, something. Maybe that's his own way of calling out to you, of making sure that you see me. I will do this, if I do this now, mommy will shout, mommy will come and rush, So there's some school of thought that would even say that it is because you are not patient enough to know that this child, there's a special need is requesting for.
Okay, but
which makes them act the way they are acting.
Okay, so but let me tell you another story.
But that is not to say that there's something.
Yeah, because let me tell you. So I know of it.
Don't forget, we are humans first before being a parent. To understand that.
So there's a story that someone shared with me how a guy was naughty. If he paused, maybe he's naughty. He's doing dishes. He's littering the whole place. He's pouring water on the floor, and then you hear the mother shouting, "Lucky!" I'm just using random names. Paul, this, that. The guy would just be happy that the mother is calling him. So the mother now went for one of these programs, where they tell you, when they teach you how to manage anger and how to do things. So when she went back home, the boy started. The mother just looked at him. Oh, you poured water on the floor. Hey, yeah, okay. Clean it when you're cool, when you're ready. That was the mother's reaction. The boy was like, really? Mom didn't scream? Why is she not calling my name? Do you understand that? He went again. And, the woman continued for 1 week. The boy went to Mom. Mom, what's the problem? Are we good? Are we good? The mother said, yeah, everything is fine. And that was the end of it. The guy didn't throw tantrums anymore.
Yes.
Because,
you know why?
Yeah?
Okay. Yes, responsibility. That's what she did. She handed over responsibility to him. So you see what I was talking about? The age matters as well. how old is that boy? If you look at it, because most of the time, yeah, what parents do is they still treat 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds like 5 year
Kids.
olds and 7 year olds. You see, tell them make your bed, clean up
Mm-hmm.
after you, and so
Mm-hmm.
much more. So these kids are not listening. So they still think they're 5 and 7 year olds mentally. But
Mm-hmm.
when you hand over responsibility to them, then you see that then they actually then sit up. And that's why he went back to his mother, because she handed over the card that he's
Mm-hmm.
been playing all along. And that's why it worked.
Okay. Okay, but see, I'm going to deviate a bit. Jess, you're going to laugh. But seriously,
Yeah.
this is just with human beings. Jess has this dog that is her last born. So if you see how she screamed, but guess what? She's very tough because, oh yeah, go that way, come this way. She's always screaming, screaming. But guess what? The dog know a owner. If Jess is here shouting, the dog doesn't answer Jess. But when the owner, that's her sister, calls the name, just the name, piam, the dog don't disappear. Why am I saying this? I think it's not just, I think naturally, you know, people, animals, humans, children, teenagers, they just understand something. What makes, there's something they understand. That shout, that shout, it a correct brain for head sometimes. Not, if not
But
all the
why is this
time.
so? Why is
Sorry?
this so? Why?
But Jess, do you agree?
I agree. I
Okay.
totally agree. That's what I'm asking. Why is it so?
Maybe that's
Why
what
does it have
Adam
to
and
get to
Eve.
the point? Yes, as in, is it inherent in us? Is it the fiber in which we were made? Is it the fabric in which we were, sewn? That is how we respond, to such things. Because even when it just comes to even pain, pleasure, all of this, we have response systems. We have certain senses that just charge up. Why in all of this? And that's how we're made. So why is it so that when we are strict, like you talked about reward systems and certain things, we tend to just we become alert or responsive, or willing to do whatever. So then why is it? I don't know really.
Okay, so I think, if you take it back to the Bible, Adam and Eve, because now them, man, okay, because they say, man, una things una get sense, una not get sense. So if you take it back to the Bible, Adam and Eve in Genesis, it's basically the same thing. They tell you to do this, but you don't listen.
Yeah.
Until there's a punishment.
Until there's a punishment for it.
Yes.
So it goes way back, not even with us. And then, so if they tell you something, you don't believe what you are told, you want to test to see what happens. But they say, that's why they always say, na devil.
Yes, it's inherent human nature.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's how the devil comes, the devil now comes to play because the Bible says...
Preacher.
The Bible says, yes, that it was the serpent that came and deceived. So everybody has said, no, that's the devil. We have interpreted the Bible to say, oh, that's the devil. So when you do something wrong, you hear them saying, it wasn't me, it was the devil.
Devil.
It was the devil.
I think it's inherently in our nature as human beings.
Yes, as human beings, yes.
To revolt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to also look up to people, to leaders that lead by example.
Okay.
Which is going to bring me back to talking about how to lead children by example. I think we mentioned it before, or Jess was saying it, that no matter what you say, no matter what you do, this, do that, do this, do that. If your kids live in a home where you don't lay your bed, where you come home, you throw your shoes, you're not arranged, you're not scattered, no matter the amount of talk you have with this child, it's going to copy, it's going to model what the things you exactly do.
Yeah.
And I'll take, for example, the example I have of my kids anyways. At night, right, once you come back, once my son sees you and he sees you on the bed, he's going to ask you, Dad, you've not showered. Where's your nightgown? Or where's your pajamas? Because he's been trained and he sees that is the natural order of things. You come back, you shower, before you get on the bed. You do this before you get on the bed. So even before, when he wants to sleep, he's asking, I've not showered today. Because that is what he sees, So it's very important as parents to always lead by examples, and not just by the things you say, but by the things you do, how you carry yourself, how you react to situations. Because it's not just about I did this, I did that. Your reaction to things, they copy these things. If the first thing that happens in a house is you shouting, you discover that along the line, your children will copy that, and that will be their MO. So, one of the positive techniques that should be very much emphasized is live the way you want your children to live. Not just about saying it. You can shout for all you want. If you're not modeling the way they should be,
by example,
if you're not modeling it to them, then they would eventually take up what you... And the truth is, whether we like it or not, like we said, human beings are inherently revolting in nature. Even if they revolt, they don't want to follow the order of things. They want to do things their own way. They want to discover their own life. What usually happens is at some point, when they've experienced it, when they've satisfied that human nature, then they begin to come back.
Okay.
And gravitate towards what they think is right.
Okay, let's quickly go on a break. We'll come back. We continue.
Stay tuned. Heartlines would be right back.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, lives a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.
Thanks for staying with us on Heartlines.
Okay, so sorry, Shay, I had to cut you because we're going on the break. So, I get everything you're saying that, we should, as parents, do certain things for our kids to emulate and all that. No problem. But what of the things the kids pick outside the home and then they bring it in? Things like that happen.
So the truth is, at the end of the day, in as much as parents will try everything we can, we'll give it our best shot, we also need to be able to forgive ourselves if things don't go according to our plan.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, you can do all you want, you can train all you want, you can give your best, you can do everything, and it still doesn't go your way. You should also know that every individual at the very best are still their own individual. They still have their own life to live. They still have, their own paths to chart in life. And I would also not neglect the importance of faith. which is, praying to God, calling on that higher authority to things that you do not have control over. If a kid goes out and picks up bad traits, you can try as much as possible when it's within your control. Because there are some traits you pick up that you don't bring back home. It stays outside or is waiting for you outside. You pick it when you're out. When you're home, you drop it at the door and you come in and you're all nice and good. That's where faith comes in. That's where the spiritual comes in, where we need to understand that there's some things you can't control, and you need to be able to commit that thing after doing everything you can do as a parent, as humanly possible as you can. Then there's need to put that thing that you have no control over, where your eyes cannot go, where your ears cannot go, where your connections cannot go to, and put it to God and say, you know what, I've done my best. Let this take over. And at the end of the day, be at peace to know that you've given it your best shot. And if it works out, all glory to God. If it doesn't,
Fantastic. I love that.
be open enough to know that it didn't.
Okay. Okay, so I know that there are parents who have tried everything.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me.
Yes.
Like tried everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't fault their upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
You can't fault what they have done, like everything they have done for their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it still didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It just still didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, you wouldn't even say it has to do with hereditary.
Mm-hmm.
Because
they did very well.
yeah, they did very well. So in such scenario, would you say, who would you blame in such scenario?
Which is, it still goes back to what I was saying, which is, at the end of the day, we are all human beings. We all have, you're my child, but ultimately you're still your own person. I'll do my best to train you. I'll do my best to go by the books and do everything right. But at the end of the day, it's still up to you as a person. It's still about the choices you make in life eventually. It's still about the people you relate with. It's still about what you take from all the things that you've been taught, all the things that you've been brought up with. And at the end of the day, there's so much blame that a parent can take. I was having a discussion someday, and they said, or I listened to something, and they said, once you are 25, let's just even say 30, 35, is no longer about, I was brought up this way. It's no longer about, my parents did not teach me. It's no longer about, the place we grew up damaged me. Because at that age, you know the good from the bad. You know, even as you're doing bad, you can tell that what I'm doing is not what I'm supposed to be doing.
Okay.
At that time, you can't lay the blames on your parent. Now it's on you. It's now your responsibility. You can choose to continue to walk in that path or choose to be different. So ultimately, what we are going to is to say that any parent cannot take absolute responsibility of how any person turns out, which is also going back to committing it to God, who is the ultimate owner of everybody's lives and can shape and can determine that everything you've taught this person works or not. Because there's so many examples of, I know so many kids that their parents did the best they could do. Best schools, Bible studies, trained them. They didn't used to shout. Maybe they beat them once a while. They didn't beat them once a while. They provided for them. When they didn't need to provide, they didn't do that. And the children became terrible. either by association or just by personal choices.
Maybe the parents were not present.
Exactly. I mean, you still, at the end of the day, you're still not going to say, it was the parents' fault.
Okay, so you said something
And we also
that...
need to understand the limitations of each parent too.
Okay, so you said something that I think Jacinta would not agree with. Jacinta, did you hear what he said about once you're 30, you can no longer say, oh, it's about where you grew up. It's about where, you know, what you were taught and all that. Do you agree with that?
I kind of agree.
Okay.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you so much.
Yes, I do, because you know there's a certain age where you take responsibilities for your actions. You cannot say because I was brought up this way or I wasn't brought up this way, whatever it is that you tend to try to remember from your future. Because I believe that then you at that age you should have learned a lot. You should have experienced a lot. You should have also analyzed why certain things happened to you at that age, or when you were still with your parents. And then it's time to say, okay, you know what? This was how I was brought up, or this was what happened to me, but I don't want to continue in that way, because now you're aware, or maybe you say to yourself, I don't want to continue this pattern with my children. So I certainly agree that at a certain age, you cannot keep, holding on to what your parents did or what your parents did not, or the mistakes they made or the mistakes they didn't make. You're grown enough now, to make your own choices, and of course these things happened. You don't have to rely on them, and this is where self-awareness comes into play. And I also agree with Shay that as parents, being a parent is not a walk in the park. We don't know it all. No, there's no manual to being a parent. And again, what is right and what is wrong? To be honest, what is positive and what is negative discipline? I feel all of these things are just theory, but the real ideology is the real practicality of it all is we can only give what we have. If I was trained in a way where, I'm an illiterate, I only give to my kids what I know, and it might be very limited. So I'm not at fault that I cannot, maybe teach him when he gets back from school. I don't know what to do with his homework. I don't even know how to read and write. It's not my fault. That's who I am. And it doesn't make me, a bad parent or a good parent. That is my capability and my capacity at that time.
Okay.
So when we say right or wrong, there's nothing really right or wrong. You just do your best, what you can at every given time.
Okay.
So yes, I agree with that. And that is why at the end of the day, you leave it to the God who have made these children, who have, we can't do it all. We must at every given time also turn to God in our parenting skills. Because like he said, when they're out there, what do we know that they are doing? Some children are totally different at home than who they are outside. And it's God that still protects. It's, I don't know what faiths, they're different faiths, but whatever faith we believe in still connects us to a God. It's still the Holy Spirit that even, do at the end of the day, what we learned, from our parents, it's the foundation, but it fizzles away. It's the Holy Spirit that then talks to us as we grow older. That's who we listen to. We call it our instincts, we call it whatever we want to call it, but there's this voice in our head. So there's something more to parenting than just what we can provide. There's a higher being that we should also remember, if we can. Pray to God, pray to whatever faith that you are in, for our kids, for their upbringing and so much more. I totally believe that we need God when it comes to parents. We can't do it ourselves because we don't even know what we're doing. And then the third one, which is lastly, which I still agree with him, is the routine he talked about his child, which I had mentioned. The child comes home, when he sees his dad on the bed, he says, "Dad, have you had your shower?" That is routine discipline. So he knows that you're not supposed to go in bed without your nightgown. And that's a great way, to discipline a child. And I think he's doing a great job with that. So yes. And if I can add before it's over, your children are not your friends, and you don't, because you're trying to avoid conflict, you don't address certain things. You must always address them And also, when you address them or when there's some sort of conflict and they're angry and they go into their rooms, always remember that you can still then go back to them, tell them what they did was wrong, communicate properly. Also, active listening, listen to them as well, and then look for a way to just quell the anger or the whatever it is, and then let them know that peace can reign after it. Like there's like when it's done, it's done. There's no prolonged anger. You're not keeping malice with your children or with your child. No. You should find a way to just end it in peace, and the child knows that it's over, and then we can go on with the day.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay, so back to what Shay said. I bet to disagree on a few things, and that's the part where you said at 30 that you don't get to say you don't get to say, oh, that's what I know, or that's what I understood, or that's the training I had, because trust me, not about good or bad now, it's about training, beliefs, things that you look up to, or the kind of person you want to be. Now, I was speaking to someone who is 32, and he was telling me how the mom said certain things to him, and that's the person he is right now, regardless of who you think or what you think is right. Do you understand? And those things stayed with him. But guess what? Those things didn't make any sense to me because of where I'm coming from. I didn't think those things made any sense. But I wasn't trying to change his thought of reasoning. Do you understand? So these things, when people say, oh, what you think is right might be wrong for me or where I come from, it might not even work in my dictionary. I give you an example. Some girls don't think, or some people, I want to get it, I don't want to. Some parents don't think certain things should be done when it comes to upbringing, based on how they train their children. But I personally think that certain things should be done as a mother with my own kids. We have different mothers who have trained our kids differently. But then, negative or right or wrong, some things stay with you. And when we're having conversations, the only time you want to change what you already know is if it's something that would benefit you or change a difficulty you're having at a particular time. But if it's not affecting any of that, you stick to what you know. Do you understand? So when people say, oh, that's how I know how to do it, it's not necessarily because it's a choice.
That's exactly what I wanted to say. That's exactly where I was going to. I wanted it to finish so that I can point it out. Ultimately, the greatest gift God gave to any one of us, and that is something He never changes. It never, even Almighty God, when it comes to your choice, right? It does not force choices on you. You choose how you want to be. You choose ultimately the direction you want to go. You can choose to still say that is how I was brought up. It is a choice. It is no longer about how you were. You chose to stay in that line. And you have to accept and acknowledge that.
But that's
what I am
doing
saying now
is
my choice. So it is not, so the excuse is no longer how you were brought up.
No, because it has to be, see, listen, it's a choice that was imposed on him as he was growing up.
And he agreed with the choice.
No, wait, listen. It's not about agree. It's just like, for example, I grew up in a different environment where certain things are a norm. And I grew up with those things. You know, I want to be in my kids' business. So maybe it's something about, I don't mind if my kids, like if Eloho was saying when she was on the show, some people don't mind if they're in the bathroom and their kids coming, whatever. Do you understand? But there are some people who stop you and say, don't come in. Now, kids grow up. You get? And one child wants to come in. So you're having a conversation. And one person is saying, oh, my kids come in when I'm having my bath. They see me naked. And you're saying, no, that's totally wrong. And she said, there's nothing wrong. That's how
was
how it happened in my house. So when people say that's how I was brought up, that's something that happened in my vicinity. Do you get? Now, individual preferences. Somebody has an excuse or has a reason why that is not applicable to her or him. I also have a reason why, because for everything you choose, there's always a good and negative side, or there's always a good and a bad. Do you understand? So that is not working for you, or is not something that you resonate or agree with. You can't force it. In fact, let's not even go into all these ones that are complicated. Somebody drinks water every morning because that's what the person grew up with, the mom trained the person with. And somebody takes coffee every morning. To you, you think the person who takes water is more healthy or is doing the right thing. Do you get my point? Meanwhile, these people is what they have, what they are used to, what they grew up knowing, what their parents, your mother says, if you take coffee every morning, you understand, you're vibrant, you're active, you're this, you're that. It sticks here. The other person takes water every morning, and your mother says it cleanses your system, it does this, it does this. You stick with it. And then at 35, not even 30, you guys see each other together, and the person who takes water is telling the person, why would you take coffee every morning? It's not good for you. That person is going to argue it to say, why is it not good for me? It makes me smart. It makes me very agile in the morning. I get to do everything I need to do, blah, 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 blah. That's why you see people who take wood arguing.
Okay,
And then the person...
Franca, can I button?
Yes.
Sorry, can I button?
Yes.
Okay, see, no two child is the same, even if they're brought up under the same roof.
Yes.
Same parents. No two child is the same. Now, like you said, this child obviously grows up drinking water, and the other child grows up, or someone else grows up drinking coffee, because that's what they've known all their lives. Now, this is what I know all my life. Now, there are two things I can do about it. So now it's like you told me to run, and I'm running, and I don't know why I'm running. So what happens is I might say, you know what, I'm running. Why am I running? No. Why am I running? Then you slow down and say, okay, no, I want to investigate why I am running. That's where I think the choice thing comes into play.
Exactly.
We're not saying that you should not keep running. Of course, run.
But we're not trying to change your opinion of...
Yes, and I don't care if you're running. Okay, like, I don't like to change people. I always say to people that when I see people, I listen to them. I don't try to tell them, like, I don't know, Franca, we've had certain, we've been in certain places where people have just this ideology of what they think. And I'll tell you, Franca, don't change it. Just let them, let them swim in it. Because, like you said, what they know all along, I can just come and change it for them. They have to individually decide to look at it again by themselves before they can then say, well, do I want to keep running or not? So that coffee thing is just like running. Okay, I'm going to keep drinking coffee. But the day I say to myself, okay, my mother said that this coffee is the best thing that can ever happen to me. That's you having an inquisitive child, and they will tell you you're very intelligent when you try to counter everything. And just like when you're doing your masters, they'll tell you critical thinking. You have to be critical about everything. So now you question everything. So that you're going into a different dimension. So like, again, that's a choice. So then you say to yourself, why am I drinking coffee? Are these things good for me? Then you start researching coffee. Then you might research it and you don't care about whatever you read. I see, I'm going to keep drinking coffee. And you can still research and say, you know what? This is not good for me. Because it might just not be good for you. Maybe your health, your kidney, whatever it is. Somebody else, nothing would happen. They're still fine. The doctor wouldn't say, stop drinking coffee. You know what I mean? So you see, life is very different. And it's
relative.
Like parallel.
Yes.
Parallel, yes. And they're like parallel lines. It's just like lightning. It's like rays. Life is like rays. It's not applicable
to everybody.
To everybody. It might look like it. It might seem like it, but it is not what it is.
Yeah.
You and I can come from the same compound, from the same streets, even from the same roof, the same parents, and we'll be totally different in our thinking, in our upbringing, and so on, because we have decided to either leave the things that we learned before or take them on. Still a choice.
But
now, guess what? It doesn't mean that it is wrong
or
to continue
right.
Yes.
That's what I said. whichever works with you, whichever is an advantage to you, is what you take.
Yes.
Yes.
So I think the agreement we're coming to is we're not saying that one is good and one is bad.
One is bad. Thank you.
What we are trying to narrow down on is to say, at the end of the day,
Your choices.
whether good or bad,
Or
whether
bad.
right or wrong, there's an age of accountability where it is your choice to continue in
And
that
your
path.
consequences to
Okay,
take
so we
as
need to
well.
go, and it doesn't have to be 30. It can be 50. It can be 80.
Yes,
Exactly.
Yes, again, the age, yes.
Yes,
the age
so it
as
doesn't
well.
have to be
Yes.
that. Okay, so
Doesn't.
we don't have time. We need to go. Eh?
Put it to call in.
Yeah. So once in a while, yes, people need to call in. Please, 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 we said you can call in with our numbers. Send an email to us at counsel at Veda Consult. Send messages, our numbers, WhatsApp numbers, or call directly to have conversations with us. Please, 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 please. Thank you.